Hello and welcome to this Beyond Shakespeare exploring session. I am your host, Robert Crighton, and today we are reading The Summoning of Everyman by Who Knows. It is both a very important play that has made a massive impact on the drama of the time. It is also an outlier that is almost irrelevant. It manages to be both things simultaneously and at the same time. So in a sense that this is a translation of a play and doesn't necessarily hail from a particularly English tradition. And so it is in many ways not very similar to some of the other medieval morality plays that we find. It is, however, quite important because of what comes later, because this is one of the first tranche of plays that get printed. And so its influence on later drama is muchly found. We've already noticed in these sessions lots of little bits and pieces popping up. But there's no actual guarantee that this was even staged in the early 1500s. It was printed around 1519, I think off the top of my head, maybe a little earlier. It may have been translated a little earlier than that, but it's actually later than you'd think, and not particularly medieval at all. So as medieval morality plays go, it is, as I say, not really quite what you'd be expecting. It is not really that interested in comedy, which there's usually something a bit hijinksy that comes up in other plays. This is perhaps, shall we say, a little more po-faced. It would be an exaggeration to say that this play is a play with a joke in it, but only a slight exaggeration. With such unhelpful and possibly misleading comments, we are going to go into the play itself now with a band of adventurers who are going to battle their way through it with aplomb or possibly a sense of despair. So, working through the room and introducing you to the players, playing the voice of God, goods and confession is...
Hello there, my name is Sascha Cooper and I'm a professional actress, dancer, choreographer and general all-round performer in Brighton in the UK. And I bless you, my child.
Thank you. Thank you. And playing the personification of all humanity, Everyman himself is...
I'm Greg and I live in Stratford-on-Avon.
And playing Death, the part he was born to play, cousin and Discretion is...
Hello, my name's Heydn McCabe. I live in Bury St Edmunds in Suffolk, and I look forward to seeing you all very, very soon.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Not afraid at all. And reading Fellowship and Strength is...
Hello, my name is Jack Chandler. I'm a professional actor, singer and voiceover artist living in sunny Kent. Hello. And
reading The Messenger, Kindred and Good Deeds is...
Hi, I'm Heloise Spring and I am an actor based in London.
And reading The Five-Wits, The Five Senses and a Doctor is...
Hello, I'm Rob Myson, and I live just outside Ely in the Fenlands.
And reading Knowledge, and very, very swiftly afterwards, An Angel is...
Hi, I'm Tom Straszewski. I'm a professional director based in York, mostly working on productions of mystery plays.
And joining us for the first time, playing the personification of beauty itself is...
Hi, my name's Melanie. I live in Bury St Edmunds and I'm a primary school teacher and opera singer.
And that is the team. I am not reading anything at all. In fact, I've managed to not even read the stage directions because there pretty much aren't any. I will read the sort of opening gambit in the text, which is possibly not designed to be performed before the messenger speaks. So in the text itself, we have, there aren't that many textual variations as well. You may at home be reading a version that has some very minor differences, but most of them are pretty much all exactly the same. But the printed text reads, "Here beginneth a treatise, how the high Father of heaven sendeth death to summon every creature to come and give account of their lives in this world, and is in manner of a moral play."
I pray you all give your audience, and hear this matter with reverence. By figure a moral play, the summoning of every man called it is, that of our lives and ending shows how transitory we be all day. This matter is wondrous precious, but the intent of it more gracious, and sweet to bear away. The story saith, man, in the beginning, look well, and take good heed to the ending. Be you never so gay. Ye think sin in the beginning full sweet, which in the end causeth thy soul to weep, when the body lieth in clay. Here shall you see how fellowship and jollity, both strength, pleasure, and beauty, will fade from thee as flower in May. For ye shall hear how our heaven King calleth every man to a general reckoning. Give audience, and hear what he doth say.
I perceive here in my majesty how that all creatures be to me unkind, living without dread in worldly prosperity, of ghostly sight the people be so blind. I'm going to start a little bit again, actually.
Okay, so God is not infallible. That's what we've learned so far.
Yeah. I'm going to start that bit again. I'm so sorry, guys.
That's fine.
I perceive here in my majesty how that all creatures be to me unkind, living without dread in worldly prosperity, of ghostly sight the people be so blind. Drowned in sin, they know me not for their God, in worldly riches is all their mind. They fear not my right wiseness, the sharp rod, my law that I shewed when I for them died. They forget clean and shedding of my blood red. I hanged between two, it cannot be denied. To get them life I suffered to be dead. I healed their feet, with thorns hurt was my head. I could do no more than I did truly. And now I see the people do clean forsake me. They use the 7 deadly sins damnable. As pride, covetous, wrath, and lechery now in the world be made commendable, and thus they leave of angels the heavenly company. Every man liveth so after his own pleasure, and yet of their life be nothing sure. I see the more that I them forbear, the worse they be from year to year. All that liveth appeareth fast. Therefore I will in all the haste have a reckoning of every man's person, and I leave the people thus alone in their life and wicked tempests. Verily, they will become much worse than beasts. For now one would be envy, another upeat. Charity they all do clean forget. I hoped well that every man in my glory should make his mansion, and thereto I had them all elect. But now I see, like traitors deject, they thank me not for the pleasure that I to them meant, nor yet for their being that I them have yent. I profit the people great multitude of mercy, and few there be asketh it heartily. They be so cumbered with worldly riches, that needs on them I must do justice, on every man living without fear. Where art thou, Death, thou mighty messenger?
Almighty God, I am here at your will, your commandment to fulfill.
Go thou to every man, and show him in my name a pilgrimage he must on him take, which he in no wise may escape. and that he bring with him a sore reckoning without delay or any tarrying.
Lord, I will in the world go run over all, and cruelly outsearch both great and small. Every man will I beset that liveth beastly, out of God's law, and dreadeth not folly. He that loveth riches I will strike with my dart, his sight to blind, and from heaven to depart, except that alms be his good friend, in hell for to dwell, world without end. Lo, yonder I see every man walking, for little he thinketh on my coming. His mind is on fleshy lusts and his treasure, and great pain it shall cause him to endure before the Lord Heaven King. Every man stand still. Whither art thou going thus gaily? Hast thou thy Maker forget?
Why ask'st thou? Wouldst thou eat?
Yea, sir, I will show you. In great haste I am sent to thee from God out of his majesty.
What? Sent to me?
Yea, certainly. Though thou have forgot him here, he thinketh on thee in the heavenly sphere. As or we depart, thou shalt know.
What desireth God of me?
That shall I show thee. A reckoning he will needs have, without any longer respite.
To give a reckoning longer leisure I crave, this blind matter troubleth my wit.
On thee thou must take a long journey. Therefore thy book of count with thee thou bring. For turn again thou cannot by no way, and look thou be sure of thy reckoning. For before God thou shalt answer, and show the many bad deeds and good but few. How thou hast spent their life, and in what wise before the Lord, before the chief Lord of paradise. Have ado that we were in that way, for weet thou well thou shalt make none to an aid.
Full unready, I am such reckoning to give, I know thee not. What messenger art thou?
I am death, that no man dreadeth. For every man I rest, and no man spareth. For it is God's commandment, that all to me should be obedient.
O death, thou comest when I had thee least in mind. In thy power it leadeth me to save, yet of my goodwill I give thee, if ye will be kind. Yea, £1,000 shalt thou have, and defer this matter till another day.
Every man, it may not be by no way. I set not by gold, silver, nor riches, ne by pope, emperor, king, duke, ne princes. For, and I would receive gifts great, all the world I might get. But my custom is clean contrary. I give thee no respite. Come hence and not tarry.
And that shall I have no longer respite. I may say death giveth no warning. To think on thee it maketh my heart sick, for all unready is my book of reckoning. But 12 year and I might have abiding my counting book, I would make so clear that my reckoning I should not need to fear. Wherefore death, I pray thee for God's mercy, spare me till I be provided of remedy.
Thee availeth not to cry, weep, and pray, but haste thee lightly that you were gone the journey, and prove thy friends if thou can. For wet thou well, the tide abideth no man, and in the world each living creature, for Adam's sin, must die of nature.
Death, if I should this pilgrimage take, and my reckoning surely make, show me for saint charity, should I not come again shortly.
Know, every man, and thou be once there, thou mayst never more come here. Trust me, verily.
Oh, gracious God, in the high seat celestial, have mercy on me in this most need. Shall I have no company from this vale terrestrial of mine acquaintance that way me to lead?
Yea, if any be so hardy that would go with thee and bear thee company. Hie thee that you were gone to God's magnificence, thy reckoning to give before his presence. What weenest thou life is given thee, and thy worldly goods also?
I had wend so verily.
Nay, nay, it was but lent thee. For as soon as thou go, another a while shall have it, and then go therefro, even as thou hast done. Everyman, thou art mad. Thou hast thy wits 5, and here on earth will not amend thy life, for suddenly I do come.
Oh, wretched caitiff, whither shall I flee that I might escape this endless sorrow? Now, gentle death, spare me till tomorrow, that I may amend me with good advisement.
Nay, thereto I will not consent, nor no man will I respite, but to the heart suddenly I shall smite without any advisement. And now, out of thy sight I will hide. And now, out of thy sight I will me hide. See thou make thee ready shortly, for thou mayst say, this is the day that no man living may escape away.
And we'll pause there because there's nothing like the presentment of death and his inevitability to really lighten the mood and get everyone G'd up for the start of a play.
Well,
always nice to see death.
Frank Spencer, but you know.
Yeah, always nice to see death in a play. It's very difficult to write bad dialogue for death, as Terry Pratchett discovered. There's so many things one could say about that. I love the bargaining, the attempt to bargain with death, the attempt to call on the higher power to spare him. The fact that this appearance of death is sort of a lie, because death says he's coming to take him away, and yet he sort of gives him a bit more time to just sort of. So death is inevitable and sudden, but actually no, you've got half an hour. So there's a sort of interesting dramatic discontinuity, or is this in a sort of weird inner world kind of thing? Because, of course, we're thinking about how we might stage it today as well as how they might have staged it then. Thoughts from the room for this opening gambit? Someone's going to come on. That was death for you, sir.
Well, death for me was great. I enjoyed it immensely.
Going to try it one day, aren't you?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
It's a cracker of part.
It's brilliant, yeah. It's absolutely brilliant.
It's such a shame he goes. I mean, you know, he could be there all the way through.
Say again?
He could be there all the way through. He really could. Just on the sidelines being cheerful. And the messenger at the opening, I really like this. You know, it's such a nice, you know, here's the story. It's a very simple story. Lays out most of the details of what's going to come ahead. And then we get God. And God is genuinely quite emotional about the fact that humankind just doesn't fucking listen. What more? I got myself nailed to a cross for you. What more do you want?
He sounded quite petulant, I thought, God. Yeah.
I was going to say, that's kind of petulant child, really, isn't
it? Yes, it was. Yeah, it was quite. Oh, why is nobody taking any notice of me?
So I'm going to send death.
Almighty.
Yeah.
I'll learn, yeah.
What is interesting that I note immediately is you're quite right, the bargaining does kind of strike me as quite daring for this sort of play. And, you know, especially as, again, it's very blatant, you know, with the way it's handled. But it's just the way that death kind of cracks down on everything. You know, he's forgiving, but not quite that forgiving, if that makes sense. It's like he's playing, I hate to use the phrase, devil's advocate in this aspect here, you know?
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And that part where he said when he's offered money, and he said, well, you know, everyone, when it comes to this part of their time to go, they can offer me whatever they want in the world. I'll not take it. I could have the whole world. I could have anything I wanted, but I'm contrary to that. I will not take this. You will die. Get used to it. That's it. That's his message.
Death and taxes.
I'm just lightening the load there, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's also that death, is also sort of a bit of, every man thou art mad. You had your 5 wits. You knew the deal. Why have you not spent your life better?
What's going on here, man?
Yeah.
What have you done with your life?
Yeah.
Where
is your reckoning? And of course, this reckoning will come up a lot. There's a literal ledger, and it's this question of what's in it. What's every man put in the ledger? Well, we're going to find out.
Yeah.
Any additional thoughts from the room at this early stage? Anything new?
I'm just worried about my phone battery dying, got to be honest.
Okie dokie. Well, if you disappear...
Bill, I've got an idea. Plug it in.
Somebody else can be beautiful. I can't plug it in and have my headphones in, can I?
The joy of tech. Well, stay with us as long as you can.
Gosh.
Well. Okay, so Everyman now has a wonderful speech, no pressure. You may find this speech sounds awfully familiar, or elements of some of Everyman's speeches will have echoes further down the line. After his speech, he's going to meet up with Fellowship, and we'll see what we're in the bargaining stage, I think, is possibly of grief for his own life. But let's see where this goes. So, Everyman, you're all by yourself.
Alas, I may well weep with sighs deep. Now have I no manner of company to help me in my journey, and me to keep. And also my writing is full and ready. How shall I do now for to excuse me? I would to God I had never beget. To my soul a full great profit it had be, for now I fear pains huge and great. The time passeth. Lord, help that all wrought, for though I mourn it availeth naught. The day passeth and is almost a go. I wot not well what for to do. To whom I best my complaint to make? What, and I to Fellowship thereof spake, and showed him of this sudden chance? For in him is all mine affiance. We have in the world so many a day, beyond good friends in sport and play. I see him yonder certainly. I trust that he will bear me company. Therefore to him will I speak to ease my sorrow. Well met, good Fellowship, and good morrow.
Everyman, good morrow by this day. Sir, why lookest thou so piteously? If anything be amiss, I pray thee me say, that I may help to remedy.
Yea, good Fellowship, yea, I am in great jeopardy.
My true friend, show to me your mind. I will not forsake thee until my life's end, in the way of good company.
That was well spoken and lovingly.
Sir, I must needs to know your heaviness. I have pity to see you in any distress. If any have wronged you, ye shall revenged be, though on the ground be slain for thee, though that I know before that I should die.
Verily, Fellowship, gramercy.
Tush, and by thy thanks, I set not a straw. Show me your grief, and say no more.
If I my heart should to you break, and then you to turn your mind from me, and would not me comfort when you hear me speak, then should I 10 times sorrier be.
Sir, I say as I will do indeed.
Then be you a good friend, indeed I have found you true here before.
And so ye shall evermore, for in faith, and thou go to hell, I will not forsake thee by the way.
Yea, speak like a good friend, I believe you well. I shall deserve it, and I may.
I speak of no deserving by this day, for he that will say, and nothing do, is not worthy with good company to go. Therefore show me the grief of your mind, as to your friend most loving and kind.
I shall show you how it is. Commanded I am to go a journey, a long way, hard and dangerous, and give a straight count without delay before the High Judge Adonai. Therefore I pray you bear me company as ye have promised in this journey.
That is matter indeed. Promise is duty, but, and I should take such a voyage on me, I know it well, it should be my pain, also it make me afraid certain. Be let us take counsel here as well as we can, for your words would fear a strong man.
Why, ye said if I had need, ye would may never forsake, quick nor dead, though it were to hell, truly.
So I said certainly, but such pleasures be set aside, the sooth to say, and also, if we took such a journey, when shall we come again?
Nay, never again till the day of doom.
In faith, then, will not I come there, who hath you these tidings brought?
Indeed, death was with me here.
Now, by God, that all hath bought, if death were the messenger, for no man that is living today, I will not go that loath journey, not nor for the father that begat me.
Ye promised otherwise, pardie.
I wot well, I say so truly, and yet if thou wilt eat and drink and make good cheer, or haunt to women the lusty company, I would not forsake you while this day is clear, but trust me verily.
Thereto ye would be ready, to go to mirth, solace, and play. Your mind will sooner apply than to bear me company in my long journey.
Now, in good faith, I will not go that way, but an thou wilt murder, or any man kill, in that I will help thee with a good will.
Oh, that is a simple advice indeed. Gentle fellow, help me in my necessity. We have loved long, and now I need, and now, gentle fellowship, remember me.
Whether ye have loved me or no, by Saint John, I will not with thee go.
Get, I pray thee, take the labour and do so much for me, to bring me forward for Saint Charity, and comfort me till I come without the town.
Nay, and thou would give me a new gown, I will not afoot with thee go. But, and you had tarried, I would not have left thee so. And as now, God speed thee in thy journey, for from thee I will depart as fast as I may.
Whither away, fellowship, will you forsake me?
Yea, by my fay, I betake to God, I betake thee.
Farewell, good fellowship, for this my heart is sore. Adieu forever, I shall see thee no more.
In faith, every man, farewell now at the end. For you I'll remember that parting is morning.
Alack, shall we thus depart indeed? Our Lady help without any more comfort. Lo, fellowship forsaketh me in my most need. For help in this world, whither shall I resort? Fellowship before with me would merry make, and now little sorrow for me doth he take. It is said, in prosperity men friends may find, which in adversity be full unkind. Now whither for succour shall I flee, sith that fellowship have forsaken me? To my kinsmen I will truly, praying them to help me in my necessity. I believe that they will do so, for kind will creep where it may not go. I will go safer yonder, I see them go. Where be ye now, my friends and kinsmen?
And before we go into kindred and cousin, let's just roll back a little bit there. Fellowship. I think we've all been there when you meet up with a mate for a drink, and he says, "Would you like to dine with me?" And we've all said, "No, actually, no."
You go.
You're drinking the nut with Ian. You wish you were dead.
I mean, it's a really interesting thing because it sets him up by going, you know, I'd go to hell, I'd happily get rid of a body for you, and that's where, you know, this is where there are little light bits in this and the next section where there are things we might call a joke, where there is room for that in the performance. You know, the Fellowship talks about, you know, this would fear a strong man, saying, you know, effectively, I'm not strong. I'm quite a weak person. I'm just the mate from the pub. And we've had here, bookending that scene, Everyman has these very emotive speeches, really emotive speeches, of which will get echoed later on in a slightly different death situation in Faustus, the calling on the clock.
I was going to say, that reminds me very much of that scene as well.
You've got here the time passeth, I wot not well what for to do. These things about time and feeling time closing in, it's very strongly echoed. And that's where we talk about the influence of this it comes through in different ways and areas. Any thoughts from the room? Wave at me so I can point at you. Mr. McCabe.
When you said that you didn't, this is not from the English, from an English tradition. I read earlier today that it's possibly from Dutch. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
It's a translation of a Dutch play.
It definitely is it?
Yeah, almost certainly. Almost certainly. Yeah, there's almost no doubt in anybody's mind on that front. I mean, there may still be some doubters out there, but it seems very much. I mean, it doesn't mean that there aren't adjustments.
No, of course not.
Because the term translation is quite a loose one.
Yeah.
At the time. But in terms of staging, you know, and you know how you feel this is going, because we're about a third of the way through now. You know, we're past the opening proposition. Any thoughts, staging wise, how you feel about it or the play so far? Wave at me so I can cue you in.
What you mean, actually putting it on stage?
Yeah, just think about this as a play.
As a play, yeah.
Tom, are you coming?
Yes. Well, the only time I've actually seen this was in a church setting where there wasn't much. I have to say it because it's about a journey. It's about summoning every man. It's going off on a journey with everybody, and I know that putting a journey on stage is actually rather tricky, rather difficult, because usually the stage is no more than a few meters. By the time you've kind of got to the far end of the stage, you have to turn back and go back the other way. Whereas if you find somewhere in a church or a cathedral or somewhere with a large space, doing this as a promenade performance might be quite interesting. I don't know if it ever would have actually been performed like that in sort of the original, but in the modern day, I think that would be quite an interesting way of doing it, of actually being able to go on a journey with these people.
Because it is called a pilgrimage. Yeah. He literally says it's going on a pilgrimage. I think that's a really important point. Greg, were you waving?
Yes, I was just. I mean, I've seen this twice. Once at that thing up the road.
Yeah.
And once at the National, once in a very small space, once in a massive space. And I was thinking I'd almost want to go the way the Mysteries were staged. Take every man on a journey and have each person he meets on a different spot. Like the different the different plays within the mystery plays.
As Tom said, on an actual promenade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would work much better.
Yeah, Sascha.
Yeah, I agree. Promenade would be the best way to actually stage this. And for some bizarre reason, I'm almost seeing this as a kind of interactive experience that you could place in unusual locations. So say, for instance, you know, you start at the entrance of a maze and you basically go through the maze to get to your point of go. So you basically, the audience follows every man on his journey and they all come across all these different characters, and at some point they could actually drop script and interact with the audience as well, so it's not just every man he's targeting. Say the Death one, say Death is encountered first, so Death not only interacts as usual on script with every man, but even just occasionally just brings a little bit of the audience in. Yeah, so that they're also punished, if that makes sense.
I'm holding my powder dry on my experiences. I'll feed them in later. I'm loving what the room is giving.
I think, honestly, promenade plays, I've done them in Colchester and they work really well.
I can
Really
see
well.
Death Ian as the Glaswegian monk.
Yeah.
I'm feeling that's an in-joke that we're not going to go
That
into
is
on
an
a
in-joke.
video destined for the
I
public.
did play Death once as a Glaswegian monk.
Okay. We will, however, crack on forward now. Keep this all in mind, because after Fellowship, Everyman encounters Kindred and Cousin, a double act who will do things, and we'll run from there into Goods as well that follows on after that. So they're going to have two little scenettes, one after the other. So, Everyman, just do the last line of your little thing as you call to your friends, where be ye now?
Where be ye now, my friends and kinsmen?
Here be we now at your commandment. Cousin, I pray you show us your intent in any wise and not spare.
Yea, Everyman, and to us declare if ye be disposed to go any whither, for which you will, we will live and die together.
In wealth and woe we will with you hold, for over his kin a man may be bold.
God mercy, my friends and kinsmen kind. Now shall I show you the grief of my mind? I was commanded by a messenger that is an high king's chief officer. He bade me go a pilgrimage to my pain, and I know well I shall never come again. So I must give a reckoning straight, for I have a great enemy that have me in wait, which intendeth for me full to hinder.
What account is that which we must render? That's what I know.
Of all my works, I must show how I have lived and my days spent. Also of ill deeds that I have used in my time, sith life was me but lent, and of all virtues that I have refused. Therefore I pray you go thither with me, to help make mine account for Saint Charity.
What? To go thither? Is that the matter? Oh, nay, Everyman. I had liefer fast bread and water all this 5 year and more.
Alas, that I was ever born. For now shall I never be merry if that you forsake me.
Oh, sir, what? Ye be a merry man. Take good heart to you, and make no moan. But one thing I warn you, by Saint Anne, as for me, ye shall go alone.
My cousin, will you not go with me go?
No, by Our Lady. I have the cramp in my toe. Trust not to me, for so God we speed. I will deceive you in your most need.
It availeth not us to tice. Ye shall have my maid with all my heart. She loveth to go to feasts, there to be nice, and to dance, and abroad to start. I will give her leave to help you in that journey, that you and she may agree.
Now show me the very first effect of your mind. Will you go with me or abide behind?
Bide behind. Ye, that I will and I may. Therefore, farewell, until another day.
How should I be merry or glad? For fair promises to me make, but when I have most need they me forsake. I am deceived, that maketh me sad.
Cousin Everyman, farewell now, for verily I will not go with you. Also of mine own and unready reckoning I have to account. Therefore I make tarry. Now, God keep thee, for now I go.
Jesus is all come here too. Low fair words maketh fools feign. They promise and nothing will do certain. My kinsmen promised me faithfully for to abide with me steadfastly, and now fast away do they flee. Even so fellowship promised me. What friend were best of me to provide? I lose my time here longer to abide. Yet in my mind a thing there is. All my life I have loved riches. If that my good now help me might, he would make my heart full light. I will speak to him in this distress. Where art thou, my goods and riches?
Who calleth me? Everyman? What haste thou hast? I lie here in corners, trussed and piled so high, and in chests I am locked so fast. Also, sacked in bags, thou mayest see with thine own eye. I cannot stir, in packs low I lie. What would ye have? Lightly me say.
Come hither, good, in all the haste thou may, for of counsel I must desire thee.
Sir, and ye in the world have trouble or adversity that I can help you to remedy shortly.
It is another disease that grieveth me. In this world it is not, I tell thee so. I am sent for another way to go, to give a straight account general before the highest Jupiter of all. And all my life I have had joy and pleasure in thee. Therefore I pray thee go with me. For peradventure thou mayst before God Almighty my reckoning help to clean and purify. For it is said ever among that money maketh all right that is wrong.
Nay, Everyman, I sing another song. I follow no man in such voyages. For and I went with thee, thou shouldst fare much the worse for me. For because on me thou didst set thy mind, thy reckoning I have made blotted and blind, that thine account thou cannot make truly, and that hast thou for the love of me.
Would grieve me full sore, and I should come to that fearful answer. Up, let us go thither together.
Oh, nay, not so. I am too brittle. I may not endure. I will follow no man 1 foot, ye be sure.
Lass, I have thee loved and had great pleasure all my life days on good and treasure.
That is to thy damnation without lessing, for my love is contrary to the love everlasting. But if thou had me loved moderately during, as to the poor give part of me, then shouldst thou not in this dolour be, nor in this great sorrow and care.
No, now was I deceived, or I was ware, and all may I wite to my spending of time.
What? Weenest thou that I am thine?
I had wend so.
Oh, nay, Everyman, I say, no. As for a while I was lent thee, a season thou hast me in prosperity. My condition is man's soul to kill. If I save one, 1,000 I do spill. Weenest thou that I will follow thee? Nay, from this world not, verily.
I had wend otherwise.
Therefore to thy soul good is a thief. For when thou art dead, this is my guise, another to deceive in the same wise as I have done thee, and all to his soul's reprieve.
Oh, false good cursed thou be! Thou traitor to God, thou hast deceived me and caught me in thy snare.
Marry, thou brought thyself in care, whereof I am glad. I needs must laugh, I cannot be sad.
Ah, good thou hast had long my heartly love. I gave thee that which should be the Lord's above, but wilt thou not go with me indeed? I pray thee truth to say.
No, so God be speed. Therefore, farewell, and have a good day.
And yes, on that cheerful note of Goods, and I think you're absolutely right. Goods is just so happy about, yeah, no, you brought yourself on, you do.
Yeah, bye-bye.
I can't leave this world. It's not my job description. Again, we have had several rejections of Everyman. He is alone at this halfway point in terms of lines. Almost literally halfway point in terms of explicit line breaks. We've had the joke. The cramp in the toe, I think, is the closest to a actual one-liner. Though we've got a maid you can take with you to death if you like. So there's that sort of back and forth. They're almost a comedy double act, those characters. So thoughts about the journey so far, now that we are at this sort of halfway stage?
Well, I think I love the idea of doing it as a kind of promenade thing. I think it would be brilliant as an immersive show, because especially if you're doing it the way some immersive shows do it, where you kind of go in time slots in little groups. If you literally had an Everyman audience plant in each group that went through. And then you could enter the little world of each of the characters. You know, you can sort of imagine it entering the world of goods, and you know, them literally having all these boxes and all these sacks of things all over the place, and you kind of enter the world of each of the characters.
You could almost do them You could almost do them randomly. Some of this, as long as you started with death and set the scene, you could almost.
Yeah, you could see them in any order. Yeah.
Just change lines around. And, you know, if you haven't seen Fellowship yet, don't worry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because Everyman does these little recaps as he goes along. Well, they didn't, and then they didn't either, and you know, neither did him. And God, everybody's. I mean, Everyman. How do you feel? I mean, it really is slowly it just keeps taking the blocks from out underneath you.
What's interesting though is I think he was. I actually, well, I don't know if it was me or how everybody else feels, but I actually felt he was desperately upset from that first speech. It wasn't actually that he's getting increasingly upset with the situation. He is, but it's almost he starts off at quite a high point to me. Because actually, I feel so sorry for him by this point. He's a horrible thing to go through, and I can, it's interesting.
However, there is the light of hope coming. We have Everyman's middle of the play speech coming up here. Everybody has forsaken him, but he's about to go to his last resort, good deeds, and we're going to see what state good deeds is in at this stage in the play. The journey is not over yet. We're about to enter phase 2. It's not quite like the Marvel extended universe, but we'll see how it goes. So, Everyman, you're all alone.
Oh, to whom shall I make my moan, for to go with me in that heavy journey? First Fellowship said he would with me gone. His words were very pleasant and gay, but afterward he left me alone. Then spake I to my kinsmen, all in despair, and also they gave me words fair. They lacked no fair speaking, but all forsake me in the ending. Then went I to my goods that I loved best, in hope to have comfort, but there I had least. For my good sharply did me tell that he bringeth many into hell. Then of myself I was ashamed, and so I am worthy to be blamed. Thus may I well at myself hate. Of whom shall I now counsel take? I think that I shall never speed till that I go to my good deed. But alas, she is so weak that she can neither go nor speak. Yet will I venture on her now? My good deeds, where be you?
Here I lie cold in the ground. Thy sins have me sore bound, that I cannot stir.
Oh, good deeds, I stand in fear. I must you pray of counsel, for help now should come right well.
Everyman, I have understanding that ye be summoned account to make before Messias of Jerusalem King, and you do by me that journey what you will I take.
Therefore I come to you my moan to make. I pray you that you will go with me.
I would full fain, but I cannot stand verily.
Why, is there anything on you fall?
Ye, sir, I may thank you of all. If ye had perfectly cheered me, your book of account now full ready had be. Look, the books of your works and deeds eke. Oh, see how they lie under the feet to your soul's heaviness.
Ah, Lord Jesus, help me. For one better here I cannot see.
There is a blind reckoning in time of distress.
Good deeds, I pray you, help me in this need, or else I am forever damned indeed. Therefore help me to make reckoning before the Redeemer of all things, that King is and was and ever shall.
Everyman, I am sorry of your fall, and fain would I help you, and I were able.
Good deeds or counsel I pray you give me.
That shall I do verily. Though that on my feet I may not go, I have a sister that shall with you also, called Knowledge, which shall with you abide. to help you to make that dreadful reckoning.
Everyman, I will go with thee and be thy guide. Thy most need to go by thy side.
In good condition I am now in everything, and am wholly content with this good thing. Thanked be God my Creator.
And when he hath brought thee here, where thou shalt heal thee of thy smart, then go with you with your reckoning and your good deeds together, for to make you joyful at heart before the blessed Trinity.
My good deeds, gramercy, I am well content, certainly with your words sweet.
Now go we together lovingly, confession, that cleansing river.
For joy I weep, I would we were there, but I pray you give me cognition, but where dwelleth that holy man, confession?
In the house of salvation, we shall find him in that place, that shall us comfort by God's grace. Lo, this is confession. Kneel down and ask mercy, for he is in good conceit with God Almighty.
O glorious fountain that all uncleanness doth clarify, wash from me the spots of vices unclean, that on me no sin may be seen. I come with knowledge for my redemption, repent with hearty and full contrition, for I am commanded a pilgrimage to take, and great accounts before God to make. Now I pray you, shrift mother of salvation, help my good deeds for my piteous exclamation.
I'm just going to pause there. Sorry. We've got that last ditch hope of the good deeds will save you. Your good deeds, and unfortunately, good deeds is really weak and poorly. And you see that you haven't got any. That the book is blank. You haven't really put any in, which is a real shame. But luckily, if you have some knowledge of a bit of scripture and of God's goodness, and you go to confession, then all will be well. So we see that the path out of despair has been put together. I think it's important to note that the scansion is all over the shop. I mean, Heloise, you got some absolute buggers to say, where you go from one length and then it doesn't skip along at all, and it's just these ridiculously long hanging lines. How did you find good deeds?
I think, they feel like good deeds feels like quite a well-rounded. They're quite a sort of nicely written character. Like they kind of do seem to want to they're kind but they're firm, is how it kind of felt.
But it's also it's the visual dimension as well. You appear in a hole in the ground, essentially. Lying down, you can't walk because you're so weak without any good deeds that he's done. I'm just thinking physically as well as the language, what's going on there.
I actually hadn't even thought about the stage. Yeah, I hadn't properly registered that. That's almost quite Beckettian feeling.
Yeah. That's symbolising the grave he's going to, possibly?
Yeah, I think so.
It's a mixture of also, yes, the weakness of just of good deeds. At this stage, good deeds will perhaps get better. Who knows? And then knowledge comes in. And what was knowledge like to perform? How did you feel, John?
To be honest, not the most interesting of parts at the moment. It's very much, okay, here's what we are going to do. We're going to go to confession. But what I've sort of noticed about the play is that you're right in that it's not the most comic of plays, but there is a sort of a structural comedy where you have the kind of the quite comic figures at the beginning of sort of Kindred and sort of goods all kind of go, no, 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 can't come with you. They're a bit sort of rowdy. They're a bit funny. And then as you go on, you get into the allegories that are more serious and more stern of confession and knowledge. So you do get that kind of sense of, you start off funny, but then it gets more and more serious the closer he gets to death.
Yes, there's yeah. His friends can do nothing for him, not straight away, mind, but they that's what they can do. And yeah, they are comedy types, aren't they? They're not excessively drawn though. Their character is there, but it's not excessive. But yes, you can see which way the wind is blowing, can't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, we're coming on to the entrance of confession. Standing by some confession there from Sascha. We're going to have the Scourge of Penance. So I hope, Greg, you're ready to do some scourging. This is where we go full 50 Shades of Grey. Don't
encourage him.
I was just thinking, actually, at least this is lighter than Monday night stuff.
Yeah.
Very true.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Okay, so you have gone with your piteous exclamation to confession.
I know your sorrow well, Everyman, because with knowledge ye come to me. I will you comfort as well as I can, and a precious jewel I will give thee, called penance, wise voider of adversity. Therewith shall your body chastised be, with abstinence and perseverance in God's service. Here shall you receive that scourge of me, which is penance strong, and that ye must endure, to remember thy Saviour was scourged for thee with sharp scourges, and suffered it patiently. So must thou, or thou scape that painful pilgrimage. Knowledge, keep him in this voyage, and by that time good deeds will be with thee. But in any wise be sure of mercy, for your time draweth fast, and ye will saved be. Ask God mercy, and he will grant truly. When with the scourge of penance man doth him bind, the oil of forgiveness then shall he find.
Thanks be God for his gracious work, for now I will my penance begin. This hath rejoiced and lighted my heart, though the knot be painful and hard within.
Everyman, look your penance that ye fulfil, what pain that ever it to you be, and knowledge shall give you counsel at will, how your accounts ye shall make clearly.
O eternal God, O heavenly figure, O way of right wiseness, O goodly vision which descended down in a virgin pure, because he would every man redeem, which Adam forfeited by his disobedience. O blessed Godhead, elect and high divine, forgive my grievous offence. Here I cry thee mercy in this present, O ghostly treasure, O ransomer and redeemer of all the world, hope and conductor, mirror of joy and founder of mercy, which illumineth heaven and earth thereby. Hear my clamorous complaint, though it late be, receive my prayers unworthy in this heavy life. Though I be a sinner most abominable, yet let my name be written in Moses' table. O Mary, pray to the Maker of all things, for me for to help at my ending, and save me from the power of my enemy, for death assaileth me strongly. And Lady, that I may by means of thy prayer of your Son's glory to be partaker, by the means of his passionate I crave. I beseech you, help my soul to save. Knowledge, give me the scourge of penance. My flesh therewith shall give acquittance. I will now begin, if God give me grace.
Everyman, God give you time and space. Thus I bequeath you in the hands of our Saviour. Thus may you make your reckoning sure.
In the name of the Holy Trinity, my body sore punished shall be. Take this body for the sin of the flesh. Also thou delight'st to go gay and fresh, and in the way of damnation thou did me bring. Therefore suffer now strokes and punishing. Now of penance I will wade the water clear, to save me from purgatory, that sharp fire.
I thank God, now I can walk and go, and am delivered of my sickness and woe. Therefore with every man I will go, and not spare. His good works I will help him to declare.
Now every man, be merry and glad. Your good deeds cometh now, ye may not be sad. Now is your good deeds whole and sound, going upright upon the ground.
My heart is light and shall be forevermore. Now will I smite faster than I did before.
Every man, pilgrim, my special friend, blessed be thou without end. For thee is prepared the eternal glory. Ye have made me whole and sound. Therefore I will bide by thee in every stound.
Welcome my good deeds, now I hear thy voice, I weep for the very sweetness of love.
Be no more sad, but ever rejoice. God seeth thy living in his throne above. Put on this garment, thy behold, which is wet with your tears, or else before God you may it miss, when you to your journey's end come shall.
Gentle knowledge, what do you it call?
It is a garment of sorrow. From pain it will you borrow. Contrition it is, but getteth forgiveness. It pleaseth God passing well.
Every man, will you wear it for your heel?
Now blessed be Jesu mother's son, Mary's son, for now I have eye on true contrition. And let us now go without tarrying. Good deeds have we clear our reckoning.
Yea, indeed I have it here.
Then I trust we need not fear. Now friends, let us not part in twain.
Nay, every man, that will we not certain.
And we'll just pause there. So, bit of a journey. Nothing like a good whipping to make your good deeds suddenly stand up. It's very Wicked-esque of oh look, person in the wheelchair can suddenly stand.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, hallelujah. And it does have that born again quality here. You know, welcome, put on the special robe, the beating of yourself, and it's very evangelical at that point, in that sort of modern sense of being born again, rather than probably where it's going originally. Yeah, it's a fascinating little thing, and he's got his friends. They're definitely going to stay with him. Good deeds and knowledge, they're both definitely staying with him, thick and thin. Well, we shall see. Thoughts from that little sequence. So Everyman, you had that sort of, again, that sort of desperate cry to Mary and God and everyone there, which I think doing at that pace felt right as well. It feels like that calling on thing.
It's weird because it almost slows down again. It's not the almost breathless. It's actually quite calm by that point. It's interesting to me. Anyway.
Yeah, it's like he's adding to the list as he's reached a point, and then then and this and actually then that you pull yourself together. I like that. So you get a scourging on stage. I mean, it's a very dramatic physical action actually, and again talking about how this works physically. How are we feeling now about the text as we're 2/3 of the way through?
Oh yeah, definitely still feeling the moving with it.
Sascha, sorry.
We've got a little bit of an interesting shift in energy as well, because, like you say, that whole scourge, the purging of all the sins, it's like, it's so in your face that I almost want to say that, I don't know, it's almost like you could almost, if you wanted to, double up the God figure with confession, if that makes sense, because then you could then make it that sort of interesting journey, so to speak, that it's the dying on the cross for our sins, and then all of a sudden, okay, we've got a little bit of an interesting transformation. Okay, let's get him wholesome before he goes on his journey again. You could almost do an interesting doubling up, casting wise, for those two roles, I think.
It is an interesting play, doubling generally as well, because it's actually very easy to double most of the play down, apart from the bit we're about to do. And so in that sense, God, who you double God with, because you've got to double God. There's no point not. Death, God, the messenger at the beginning, they're all very foldable into the rest of the cast. Tom, I see your hand up
Yes,
here.
it's going to make a point. There's a thing in medieval theology about affective devotion, whereby looking at icons or imagery or plays, in this case, you can identify with either Christ or with Mary at the cross, or so many of these biblical figures. And it figures very much in the York mystery plays. And I've noticed there's quite a bit of this in here, where obviously we're being called to identify ourselves with every man, and to go through these in the same way that every man goes through effective devotion by being scourged like Christ. We are identifying with every man being scourged, and presumably being told to go off and metaphorically or physically scourge ourselves. There's quite an interesting sort of way of sort of linking.
Rob, I can't hear you, buddy.
I'm still here, mate.
Sorry, what was that, Mr. McCabe?
We're losing you there, Mr. Crichton.
Are you losing me? I can. You'll find my
Couldn't
end.
hear you at all.
Oh, I can hear.
I can hear
You're back
you.
now.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear a thing for about 30 seconds there.
No, we're
AG and
fine, everyone else, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Any additional thoughts before we move into the final third? Waggle your
Apart
arms.
from I've lost my place, but no.
This is,
I did that a minute ago. I went, oh, right, sure,
well, we're about to
I just
introduce
unplugged
your
my phone
characters.
to charge it, but I'm not sure it's helped. I'm on about 10% at the moment.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll
Oh,
make it, because you are coming in any moment
I
now,
know, yeah.
and hopefully we're there. Because this is where the doubling falls apart, because we suddenly have a whole phalanx of new characters. Because you could probably end the play here. You could go off and die, and that'll be the end of the play. But the play doesn't do that. Oh no, it's going to introduce a whole selection of things, which it will explain a little later on. I won't lead the witnesses too much at this stage. So, Everyman has confirmed that good deeds and knowledge are not going anywhere. And then Good Deeds drops this bombshell that there's more to do. So, yet must thou, Good Deeds.
Yet must thou lead with thee 3 persons of great might.
Who should they be?
Discretion and strength they height, and thy beauty may not abide behind.
Also, ye must call to mind your 5 wits as for your counsellors.
You must have them ready at all hours.
How should I get them hither?
You must call them all together. They will hear you incontinent.
My friends, come hither and be present. Discretion, strength, my 5 wits, and beauty.
Here at your will we be all ready. What will ye that we should do?
That ye would with every man go, and help him in his pilgrimage. Advise you, will ye with him or not in that voyage?
We will bring him all thither, to his help and comfort. Yea, may believe me.
So will we go with him, all together?
Almighty God, who love thou be, I give thee, Lord, that I have hither brought strength, discretion, beauty, and 5 wits, lack I naught, and my good deeds with knowledge clear, all be in my company at my will here. I desire no more to my business.
And I, strength, will by you stand in distress, though thou would in battle fight on the ground.
And though it were through the world round, we will not depart for sweet nor sour.
No more will I unto death's hour, whatsoever thereof befall.
Every man, advise you first of all, go with a good advisement and deliberation. We all give you virtuous monition, that all shall be well.
My friends, hearken what I will tell. I pray God reward you in his heavenly sphere. Now hearken all that be here, for I will make my testament here before you all present. In alms, half my good I will give with my hands twain in the way of charity with good intent, and the other half still shall remain in quiet to be returned there it ought to be. This I do in despite of the fiend of hell to go quite out of his peril ever after and this day.
Everyman, hearken what I say. Good priesthood I you advise, who receive of him in any wise the holy sacrament and ointment together. Then shortly see ye turn again hither. We will all abide you here.
Yea, every man, hie you that ye ready were. There is no emperor, king, duke, nay, baron that of God hath commission, as hath the least priest in the world being. For of the blessed sacraments pure and benign, he beareth the keys, and thereof hath the cure for man's redemption. It is ever sure, which God for our soul's medicine gave us out of his heart with great pine here in this transitory life for thee and me. The blessed sacraments, 7 there be: baptism, confirmation with priesthood good, and the sacrament of God's precious flesh and blood, marriage, the holy extreme unction, and penitence. These 7 be good to have in remembrance, gracious sacraments of high divinity.
Fain would I receive that holy body, and meekly to my ghostly father I will go.
Every man, that is the best that ye can do. God will you to salvation bring, for priesthood exceedeth all other thing. To us holy scripture they do teach, and converteth man from sin, heaven to reach. God hath to them more power given than to any angel that is in heaven. With 5 words he may consecrate God's body in flesh and blood to make, and handleth his maker between his hands. The priest bindeth and unbindeth all bands, both in earth and in heaven. These ministers, all sacraments 7, though we kiss thy feet, thou were worthy. Thou art surgeons that cureth that sin deadly. No remedy we find under God, but all only priesthood. Every man, God gave priests that dignity, and setteth them in his stead among us to be. Thus be they above angels in degree.
I just want to briefly pause there. It's a really odd speech for 5 wits to have. I find this very odd. So we've got various human senses. We've got strength. We've got the 5 senses, the 5 wits, physical beauty, discretion, which I think we can take as sort of thinking power, your CPU. And they're all very external physical things, as opposed to outside forces on every man. So they're sort of gathering all your human faculties together. And then we get this speech, and it's 5 wits. And I don't know whether it should be 5. It should be 5 wits. It feels like it should be either knowledge or good deeds or something. I don't know why it's 5 wits. Any thoughts in the room? Does it feel odd to anyone else? Or is this just me?
It just
Rob.
It doesn't sound physical enough, does it? Yeah, for the 5 wits, it's just a little bit too ethereal in a way.
Anyone else? Sasha?
It's a bit of a cop-out, actually, because you kind of expect a lot more brightness with the 5 wits. It's like you're expecting some kind of conflict, with all the 5 wits combined, but you don't get it with this one. It's just like a straight through line, and it's very still, and you'd expect a lot more physical action, I would say, just to kind of keep things a little bit lighter, so to speak, to balance out the somberness of knowledge and other characters as well. But no, you don't get that. So it's a bit of a cop out, I'm afraid.
Well, none of the other senses, or the strength or beauty, or any of the others actually really get much to say. Five-Wits gets this massive speech, and it's just, I just wonder about it. I just wonder. Any more, Tom?
I was wondering whether it has to do with the fact that it's very much about the sort of tactile things, but it's about making the divine into something that can be touched, tasted, heard, smelt, sort of incense. So it's not so much about the sort of the priests of sort of knowledge or anything like that, but about sort of faith as something that could be touched. If the five wits, the five senses.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's a good reason. It's leading us into a question about. He does mention priests a lot, and that's why the priests have their dignity and their authority. Knowledge is about to express an opinion on this, because Everyman appears at this point to have exited to get. To receive the sacrament and be given his last rites and whatever ceremonial is occurring. It's the only time Everyman actually gets a break. You know, he gets about 15 lines to go off, swig a glass of water before death. So that's it's nice for that to happen. Okay, so Everyman has presumably exited. It might all be happening on stage in a corner, and this is said over it. But Knowledge now has a speech, and we're going setting up almost to go on that final journey, but we're not quite there yet. Go Knowledge.
If priests be good, it is so shortly. But when Jesus hanged on the cross with great smart, there he gave out of his blessed heart the same sacrament in great torment. He sought them not to us, but Lord omnipotent. Therefore Saint Peter the Apostle doth say, that Jesus' curse have all they which God their Saviour do buy or sell, or they for any money do take or tell. Sinful priests giveth the sinners example bad. Their children sitteth by other men's fires, I have heard, and some haunteth women's company with unclean life, as lusts of lechery, these be with sins made blind.
I trust to God no such may be find. Therefore let us priesthood honour and follow their doctrine for our soul's succour. We be their sheep, and they shepherds be by whom we all kept in surety. Peace. For yonder I see every man come, which hath made true satisfaction.
Methinketh it is he indeed.
Now, Jesus, you be our older speed. I have received the sacrament for my redemption, and then mine extreme unction. Blessed be all they that counsel me to take it. And now, friends, let us go without longer respite. I thank God that ye have tarried so long. Now set each of you on this rod your hand, and shortly follow me. I go before, there would I be. God be our guide.
Everyman, we will not from you go, till ye have gone this voyage long.
I, Discretion, will abide by you also.
Though this pilgrimage be never so strong, I will never part you from. Everyman, I will be as sure by thee as ever I did by Judas Maccabee.
Alas, I am so faint I may not stand. My limbs under me do fold. Friends, let us not turn again to this land, not for all the world's gold, for into this cave must I creep, and turn to the earth, and there to sleep.
What? Into this grave? Alas.
Yea, there shall you consume more and less.
And what? Should I smother here?
Yea, by my faith, and never more appear. In this world live no more we shall, but in the heaven before the highest Lord of all.
I cross all this out. Adieu by St. John. I take my cap in my lap, and I'm gone.
What beauty, whither will ye?
Peace. I am deaf. I look not behind me. Not and thou would give me all the gold in thy chest.
That's whereto may I trust. Beauty goeth fast away high. She promised with me to live and die.
Everyman, I will thee also forsake and deny. Thy game liketh me not at all.
Why then ye will forsake me all. Sweet strength, tarry a little space.
Nay, sir, by the rood of grace I will hie me from thee fast, though thou weep till thy heart brast.
Ye would ever bide by me, ye said.
Yea, I have ye far enough conveyed. Ye be old enough, I understand, your pilgrimage to take on hand. I repent me that I ever came.
Strength, you to displease, I am to blame. Will you break promise that is debt?
In faith I cannot. Thou art but a fool to complain. Ye spend your speech and waste your brain. Go thrust thee into the ground.
I had when surer I should you have found. He that trusteth in his strength, she him deceiveth at the length. Both strength and beauty forsaketh me, yet they promised me fair and lovingly.
Everyman, I will after strength be gone. As for me, I will leave you alone.
Why discretion will ye forsake me?
Yea, in faith, I will go from thee. For when strength goeth before, I follow after evermore.
Yet I pray thee, for the love of the Trinity, look in my grave once piteously.
Nay, so now I will go. Nay, so now will I not come. Farewell, every one.
Oh, all things faileth, save God alone. Beauty, strength, and discretion. For when death bloweth his blast, they all run from me full fast.
Every man, my leave now of thee I take. I will follow the other, for here I thee forsake.
Alas, then may I wail and weep, for I took you for my best friend.
I will no longer thee keep. Now farewell, and there an end.
Oh,
And there we will pause before we go into the final straight. We've played this game before. And the playwright has enough wit to know that to keep it shorter than the first time round. It's a much shorter version. So if in the first set of refusals, they're the outside world, they're your friends, they're your monetary wealth. This is Everyman's literally his body's falling apart. Literally as well as figuratively. So he's losing all the things that keep him together, his identity together. So he loses his beauty first, his physical appearance, his ages, he wrinkles. Then his physical strength goes. Then he gets a bit befuddled because his discretion, his thinking power goes. And then all his senses start to drift away and he is left all alone. And the question here, I think, is very much there's a question of staging. How do you do this? How does the actor playing Everyman do this? But how does everybody else do this? There's opportunities there. It all happens once they've seen the grave. So we have a grave area or something. Is it the same hole from which good deeds emerged earlier? And just before that, we had the Thundercats, ho moment when they all put their hands on the cross. And that's the Rod Rude bit. You know, they're all swearing an oath. They're all going to stay together. They go on the journey. They see the grave and everyone goes, oh, that.
Not so much.
Bugger that.
So thoughts about how we
I
stage
have a
this?
point.
Thoughts about this sequence? Wave at me. Greg.
I don't know why, but I always feel like I would be. This is actually almost a moment of calm. He's been quite fraught, and though he is dying, I always got the sense that things have slowed down so much that actually everyone around him is so fraught. I don't know how I'm saying this. That each time we meet somebody, they're sort of almost static, but then these guys become very while Everyman is almost in the centre of the stage, just going, I'm dying, thanks, guys.
He's given up to the inevitable.
Yeah, because the dialogue is quite explicit. My limbs under me doth fold. You know, he just crumples, and you know, and what's happening with him. Other thoughts? Wave at me. Oh, Jack.
Hi. I was thinking, all gathered round the grave with obviously every man in the middle and all the other characters peripheral. And as each one fades away, literally, they literally fade away and disappear off. And so he's gradually left alone. Or out of...
Oh, Mel, yes.
Oh, I wasn't waving.
Oh, right, okay. Just drowning.
I'll tell you what, this last bit that you're talking about there, that could be done so well on film. Literally,
this lends itself. The whole thing lends itself to film, doesn't it?
To film.
Very much
So.
Yeah, because it has a certain logic of its own making, and that you could do a whole series of visual things that blur into each other. It has a dream logic to it. A lot of this.
It does.
No, it's a bit random, but I'm seeing him sat in a grave, and then people just dropping soil and walking away, or as they peel away from him.
Oh, I like that. I like that. That's
because
nice
it's that backing the whole thing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. That's a good visual, definitely.
Sascha.
As an extension to that, you know, when from the dropping on the soil in the grave, you could, if you had the facility to do it, you could even have something like a smoke machine that slowly builds up the smoke, and each character just disappears into the smoke, quite literally, so that people are left in an interesting state of wonder and desolation, and like, hang on, what's going on, you know?
Also, just a point about the nature of some of these characters is that the way some of these things are gendered. It's quite interesting. So, regardless of who we've got in the room at the moment, you've got good deeds, you've got knowledge are both sisters, but also strength is female. And that's
obviously
but you know, because you might think of it as a big macho man kind of muscly figure, but no, actually it's because it's
something a man would think, surely.
Yeah. Exactly. But it's worth pointing out.
Sorry.
And that there is a different logic, because strength is a knight in the Pride of Life, which some of us in this room have done before, and is a man. But here it's definitely feminine. Okay, we're in the final straight. Any last words before we go to the last words? Okay, Everyman, your senses, your brains, your strength and your beauty have all abandoned you. Call out for someone to save you.
Oh, yes, you help. All have forsaken me.
Nay, Everyman, I will bide with thee. I will not forsake thee indeed. Thou shalt find me a good friend at need.
For mercy, good deeds, now may I true friends see. They have forsaken me, everyone. I loved them better than my good deeds alone. Knowledge, will ye forsake me also?
Everyman, when ye to death do go, but not yet for no manner of danger.
For mercy, knowledge with all my heart.
Nay, yet I will not from hence depart, till I see where ye shall become.
Methinketh, alas, that I must be gone, to make my reckoning and my debts pay, for I see my time is nigh spent away. Take example, all ye that this do hear or see, how they that I loved best do forsake me, except my good deeds that bideth truly.
All earthly things is but vanity. Beauty, strength, and discretion do man forsake. Foolish friends and kinsmen that fair spake, all fleeth, save good deeds, and that am I.
Have mercy on me, God most mighty, and stand by me, thou mother and maid, Holy Mary.
Fear not, I will speak for thee.
Here I cry, God mercy.
short our end and minish our pain. Let us go and never come again.
Into thy hands, Lord, my soul I commend. Receive it, Lord, that it be not lost. As thou me boughtest, so me defend, and save me from the fiend's boast, that I may appear with that blessed host that shall be saved at the day of doom. In manas tuas, of mights most forever, commendo spiritum meum.
Now hath he suffered that we all shall endure. The good deeds shall make all sure. Now hath he made ending. Methinketh that I hear angels sing, and make great joy and melody, where every man's soul received shall be.
A very brief pause because the knowledge is also playing the angel in this particular accidental doubling scheme. So knowledge is just going to put some angel's wings on here before and fly, angels, fly.
Come, excellent elect spouse to Jesu, here above thou shalt go, because of thy singular virtue. Now the soul is taken the body from, by his reckoning is crystal clear. Now shalt thou into the heavenly sphere, unto the which all ye shall come, but liveth well before the day of doom.
This moral men may have in mind. Ye hearers, take it of worth, old and young, and forsake pride, for he deceiveth you in the end. And remember booty, 5-wits, strength, and discretion, they all at the last do every man forsake, save his good deeds, there doth he take. But beware, and they be small before God, he hath no help at all. None excuse may be there for every man. Alas, how shall he do then? For after death amends may no man make, for then mercy and pity do him forsake. If his reckoning be not clear when he do come, God will say, Ite maledicti in ignem aeternum. And he that hath his account whole and sound, high in heaven he shall be crowned, unto which place God bring us all thither, that we may live body and soul together. Thereto help the Trinity. Amen, say ye, for saith Saint Charity.
Ite maledicti in ignem aeternum. You will burn in hell forevermore. So, you know, ending on a nice level there. It's interesting. Knowledge admits that it's not going to make it quite to the finish line. Knowledge will drop away. The only thing you're going to take with you are your good deeds. Absolutely clear. And I think good deeds has got my favorite line, their closing gambit there of short our end and minish our pain, let us go and never come again. I love that. I think that's such a beautiful line. And then I say we have these sort of repeated endings of knowledge, and then the angel, and then the doctor at the end. These sort of it's like the end of the Lord of the Rings. There are so many endings. It's not like it at all. So yeah, it's a thing, and of course we have the bonus of additional cat clawing its way forward. Every man's final moments on the stream there. So, thoughts from the room? It's a very moving end. I think it genuinely is. In a way that actually a lot of other morality plays aren't. I haven't found that it doesn't have that emotional connection. Whereas Everyman all the way through has been so distraught and so emotional that you can't help but feel for the poor bugger.
Yeah, but the allegorical point is drummed, isn't it? It's drummed into you. It's clear. It's a reflection of the Christian doctrine at that time.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not what we receive in life that counts, but what we're given. You know, it's in essence, it's rewarded for good deeds to others rather than what we've made, how much money we've got. etc., etc.
Yeah, do good works. It's
Do
a very
good
Catholic
works,
doctrine in that sense. It's not about inner contemplation. It's about doing the things outside and obeying the rules.
Absolutely.
Other
the
thoughts in the
rules of
room?
God, not our rules. Not our rules.
Yeah, Sascha.
I think this play's really demonstrated for me is not only the change in characters that we've seen over the past few weeks, but also what's lovely about this is that it shows a very simple, heartfelt message despite the dramatic overtones of the piece, and that is, if you can be a good person and not do harm onto anyone else, then you pretty much come off well, I think, in this one. And the way that it's all tied up, it's subtle as opposed to avidly abrupt changes that we've seen in previous incantations throughout the last few weeks as well. It's been very enjoyable, actually, just listening and watching you guys. That's one of the reasons why I accidentally didn't come in with confession, because I was so engrossed in what was going on in front of me. I was like, oh wait, it's me, hang on.
It's interesting that at almost exactly the same time we've got things like youth coming about, and in that you're right, there's this sudden and body of Christ, oh yes, I'm saved, and there isn't a journey in the same way, but I think in the sense there's no sense that every man has been overtly sinful. It's just that people in life do, need to do these things and need to be a good Christian, and that actually you need to accumulate lots of good little things. That there's an acknowledgement that everyone sins, but so long as there is an escape route.
Is that what they mentioned at the beginning, that reckoning on the Book of Balance?
Yeah, and all the way
Which one
through.
are you going to come out on?
Yeah, and he says at the end, "I'm going to give to charity. I've scourged myself." Because scourging is easier than doing a baptism, it's very messy doing baptisms. And
but be a good person. Don't do anyone any harm, or we'll be well.
Yeah, but it's all about those good deeds. Get those good deeds in. Get them in the book. Get them in the book, people.
Yeah.
I think
I'll be around your house tomorrow, Robert. I don't know what you're going to give me, but I'll be there.
I don't know where that's going.
Never heard it called that before.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Okay, let's pull it back, people. Pull it back. So thinking about staging this again, we've got that very physical thing. Any thoughts from Heloise, Tom, Jack? Any thoughts about what would you do with this piece?
Are you talking about the last scene here?
I think all of it. I'm opening it out now. But the last scene it has got lots of potential.
Well, one thing that, for some reason, an image that keeps coming to my head. I do love the idea of doing it as an immersive promenade show. I do love that idea, and I think if you were really creating because for a contemporary audience, we're not kind of familiar with morality plays. I have never seen one staged. It doesn't feel familiar having the kind of, just like the kind of archetypal character, just the names, good Everyman. I think it's something that I would find it quite hard to connect with if I just saw it staged, straight in a end-on production where I wasn't kind of involved, or where everyone was just played by, it's just one actor playing one character. I think it would need, quite creative storytelling. I think I could almost see Everyman being a puppet, because for some reason I always find that I empathize so much more with puppets than I do, it's like Warhorse and things. Why do you go and see that and care so much about the horse? There's something about puppets that is magical, and it would help you to be able to do things that are more that would be quite difficult to stage, like the deterioration. That would be much easier to do. So I don't know, I think there's lots of really interesting things. I think it would need, if I was staging it, I would definitely not have it as a straight play. I think I would need a lot of music. I'd need a lot of movement. I'd need quite creative things with the ensemble. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, so, Greg?
I think one of the things I was thinking just now is I would almost make it that we said earlier something about every man being a plant in the audience.
Yeah.
Or an element of luck at the beginning. I know there's productions that have done it. The Mary Queen of Scots in the West End, and so on, where you've got that element of there's few people it could be, and it's literally down to something on the night, because then it does provide that element of every man, every woman, even possibly. So much is true.
Yes. Tom, Jack, Robert, any thoughts? Tom?
The one thing that sort of sprung into my mind is obviously this is all one person's moment of whether it would be possible to do this as a one-person play, which would be sort of finding that sort of visual way to sort of incorporate all of these, or to have at least the sort of the senses played by the person playing every man. I don't know how well that would actually work, but it would be an interesting experiment to try that. I did like the idea of every man as a puppet, because there is the sort of real sense of him just being led around by everybody else. He doesn't actually have a huge amount of agency. He's told, death is coming to get you. He asks, will you come with me? No. Will you come with me? No. Who will help me? But he doesn't really take it's not very proactive about it. He's sort of led by these other entities. But if those entities are coming from within himself, or have some sort of way of linking them visually to him, rather than just sort of knowledge stepping outside of sort of entering the stage and going, hello, I'm knowledge. Well, how do we know that it is every man's knowledge? I'm finding that quite sort of tricky to sort of saying how would that actually be conveyed on stage. And as I said at the beginning, it is not the funniest of plays. You watch something like Mankind, where you've got all of the sort of the sins and the vices who are very tempting. You can see why Mankind might be tempted that way, whereas every man, I think you would have to make goods very apparent as to why we are so attached to goods ourselves, to sort of get that across.
I feel I have an in here that I will now expound briefly. I will be brief about my one-man version. So, which addresses a lot of the things that people have been saying. So I'm feeling really, really, really pleased. So it was an interactive, semi-immersive production. And the audience, when they arrived, I had a shirt on called the Shirt of Bad Deeds, and I got the audience to write a bad deed that they have themselves done on the shirt. They also then wrote a good deed on a bit of sticky paper, which they kept with them at all times. I then led them into the space, wearing all their bad deeds on, literally visually in front of them. And then when it came to every character, I would perform I would choose, there'll be an individual person who'd be asked to stand. They didn't have to do anything apart from maybe react a bit. And then I would perform every man to them as if they were whichever individual character was on stage. And then I would perform their reply to the rest of the room, their character's reply. So that everyone got a very immediate sense of every man's desperation, and I'd look them right in the eyes and say, help me. And then the bastards never did. And then they sat down. And then as we go into it, I would take the Shirt of Bad Deeds off. And when it came to the scourging, I'd beat the bad deeds shirt down on the ground, literally beat the bad deeds out of me. And when I asked for forgiveness and did that long flowing speech of calling on God, I took the Book of Reckoning, which was just an empty folder, and I collected all the good deeds from all the audience that they'd spent some time thinking about and kept that. I simplified it in the sense that knowledge was just a Bible, and I sort of repurposed some of the dialogue. I cut all of Five-Wits' speech about priests, because you know what? Life's too short. And that basically was the idea. And then I died on stage holding the hand of Good Deeds, and that was and Good Deeds had a chair on stage they sat on, and sort of, so in that sense it was both, it was promenade, it was immersive, and it was a one-man thing. I had an awful lot of fun doing it, playing with the syntax. That's why I didn't want to read any parts today, because I literally know almost every single line of this play by heart. And I know how hard it is to do some of those lines that don't scan, and because they don't, and you need to spend quite a long time making them work and finding where the stresses live. But that thing of trying to make people think about good and bad deeds that in their life, and making that part of the experience, I thought was vital. And make it feel like people had to look you in the eyes or not look you in the eyes, made such a difference. If I had the will and the stamina, I would still be touring it. It's a very good show. I say so myself. It really worked in a very immediate way, and I miss it. But I think you're right. Everyone's right about that sense of not sure if, as an end-on traditional theatre show, whether it comes out at its fullest. And that's a question that future people. There are videos online of some interesting student productions, very interesting, one or two very interesting ones that exist. There is a film version that isn't really available. It was done in quite a traditional style. I think they did it in period, and I think if you want to mortgage a house, you can buy a copy. But I don't think it's very freely available, which is a shame. How did
they approach it in the film version? What did they do on there?
They set it in period, and it was various different locations, and it was done quite simply, as I recall. I've only seen clips of it.
Okay.
I don't think it's bad. It's just not very available. There's an LP version from the 1950s. BBC Radio did a version that you can buy on eBay if you wish to, again, mortgage your house, which I have not heard because I do not have a house to mortgage. It's sort of weird because it's a play that's out there quite a lot, and Greg's seen it twice. I've seen it on stage, or the rewritten adaptation the National did, which is a very different kettle of fish, and I think was trying to deal with all sorts of things. I talked quite a lot. I'll stop now. Thoughts and reactions there to my appalling hubris in what I just said.
No, it's a really good way to stage it. I love Heloise's idea of doing it as a puppet. I mean, that's brilliant. I can see with Everyman as a puppet, but playing it against a screen where all the other characters are actually on screen interacting with the puppet.
What sort of back silhouette work?
Yeah.
That might, yeah.
So we the only three-dimensional character we get is Everyman.
Okay. Any additional thoughts then with this particular play? We're into extra time, so I want to sort of wind it up, but I don't want to stop people if they've got things they're bursting to say. So, Jack or Rob, any last thoughts from you?
Interesting to listen to other thoughts, because as a straight piece of theatre, it'd be very hard, wouldn't it? As I say, it's got to be it's got to be a little bit off the wall. A straight piece, it's just going to be very verbose.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's certainly not something like we're used to at all. So yeah, it's very alien to a lot of people.
Mm.
Yeah, your interactive one man, even like sort of semi-schizophrenic, almost. I could almost see it being.
Heloise.
So I just thought it feels like an incredibly. I'm a massive Neil Gaiman fan. I'd love to see Neil Gaiman's adaptation of this. I think that would be absolutely cool. It just suddenly occurred, like there is something quite Neil Gaiman-y. What an adjective. About it though, I think. Yeah, I don't know. That just occurred to me.
Yeah, you can almost see it going quite dark in places. I mean, if we wanted to add on the whole thing with the Neil Gaiman association, in a weird sort of way, I can almost see Tim Burton doing an adaptation of this.
Yeah.
You know, but you could almost have quite a lot of the characters, especially the double actors, I'll call them at the beginning. You could almost do them like a twisted Tweedledum Tweedledee type role, and then but they're really exaggerated so that they become almost like a demonic version of what is portrayed in the text. So everything is heightened as every man goes through this hellish journey in many respects. I mean, what say you to the room?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. The only alternative really is to find an audience that really gets this particular doctrinal message, it's actually very hard to do that with this text, because there are always caveats with doctrine. And that audience doesn't really exist in the same way, and some kind of adaptation is an interesting route as to what you do and how you present that message, because it's not narrative, it's ideas based.
Tom, can I ask you something? Tom, when you stage in York, how do you find audience up there react to what you put on morality play wise?
Sorry.
When you're staging plays in York, your morality plays, how do audiences react? Modern audiences react to what you do?
Of the morality as opposed to mystery plays, I've only staged Mankind, and that was received quite well, actually. I mean, I don't really sort of know what the audience made of the kind of Christian side of things, the sort of moral side of things. What we did try to emphasize was how attractive the vices were. It was a bit of a Clockwork Orange kind of production where you get caught up in the fun of it, and then you realize what the consequences are, not just in a sort of a moral sense of, okay, well, mankind sinned, will go to hell, but this has affected other people. I think that's actually what Everyman is very solipsistic. It's very much about Everyman themselves, not how they relate to their kindred or their friends or their family. Yes, he says, okay, well, if I was in the same position, I would go with you. Would he? Would he really? And I think that for an audience, they should be asking themselves very much the same thing. But I think it's always that kind of sense of, well, what are they actually? The fact that we performed, so there was Everyman and Mankind as double bill, because they're short enough to do that. I directed Mankind and Fred directed Everyman. I did notice one of the major problems with Everyman is if you're doing it in a small space, you run out of space for all of the actors. by the end of it, when sort of everybody turns up, not helped by the fact that Five-Wits were played by 5 individuals. One for each sense, with sort of big rubber gloves or sort of big lips or sort of massive sort of goggle eyes or whatever.
It's a shame that we had to scratch Mankind yesterday. We'll probably look at it next week because they are really very different plays in many ways. I mean, tonally,
same message, but a completely different way of putting it across.
We don't have many morality plays of that sort of purebred medieval kind. You know, we've got Castle of Perseverance, we've got Mankind, we've got Wisdom, we've got Everyman, and we've got Mundus et Infants, and then we go into a sort of bastard Tudor form as we go forward, and doing all sorts of different games. And it is that sense that Everyman doesn't quite fit into that. It does and it doesn't. You know, there's always so much more fun and games going on with the other morality plays that are out there. And also, this one isn't very doubleable in the way that all the others, well, apart from Castle, which is just impossible. For those who don't know, Castle of Perseverance requires a cast of at least 22, and Earthworks.
Well, you've got to persevere, mate. You've got to persevere.
It is a mammoth monster of a play that will probably take us a week to get through when we get round to doing it. It's a beast, and it's a fabulous beast though. But it is a beast. Any definite last words? Because I'm going to wrap up now.
Not from me, darling.
Excellent.
Not for me.
I'd like to thank everyone here for reading Everyman, the summoning thereof, this warm Wednesday evening, depending on where you are. This will be going out online on YouTube. If you have any thoughts or comments and things, do give us a buzz. If you totally disagree with everything we said, that's fine.
Who cares?
It's a big world, you know, and it's all about what happens to these plays after we've chatted about them. What can we do with them next? What can you do with them next? And sharing that information far and wide. I've been Robert Crighton. These have been these fabulous readers. Thank you very much, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.